The Bear, cinematographer Drew Wehde, Better Call Saul, cinematographer Marshall Adams, Blackbird, cinematographer Natalie Kingston, and Star Trek Picard, cinematographer Jon Joffin. Thank you all so much for doing this. I wanted to start, I guess, like just right back at the beginnings for all of you. Like, when did you realize you wanted to become like a cinematographer, and like, what led you to this panel, basically? Drew, you could start with you and kind of go around.
Oh God, I have no idea. I don't know. I did commercials as a cinematographer for 10 years, and things led me to Bo, and we made 8th grade, and I realized that long form is where I definitely feel most comfortable and most rewarding. And I owe it all to Bo.
That's cool. And Marshall, how about you?
I came up in the industry as a technician, so I actually started as a camera assistant, and was a terrible camera assistant. I realized that I just wasn't paying enough attention to the camera and was always watching what the electricians were doing. So eventually, I decided that's where I should be, and then kind of worked my way up. I think early on, you always have your own ideas about lighting and angles, and so the push to try to do your own stuff is always there.
Do you remember like what was something you saw, like you're like the first time or like an early time you're like, oh, I think this lighting would be great, or like that kind of thing? Like, can you go back to that granular or no?
You mean film influences?
Yeah, like kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would probably say Seven and Fight Club both, just blew me away. The lighting on both of those films was just fantastic, and that was a place to kind of, to head towards in my mind.
Yeah. Natalie, how about you? What made you want to become a cinematographer, I guess?
Yeah, so I had a very winding path. I'm from a small town in South Louisiana, so wasn't really exposed to filmmaking that much growing up, and didn't really watch movies too much as a child, and like my parents really didn't, so I didn't, by proxy. But I went to they did take me to the theater a lot to see musicals and plays, so I was a very creative child, so I was always like creating my own plays or own like little circuses. It was always like some kind of production. So when my parents, when I was like 10, they got the VHS camcorder. And so I got my hands on that. So I started, making little movies. I would take, I would have library books in the children's section of the library of stage plays, and I would, convert those to screenplays essentially, and make movies with the neighborhood friends and my cousins and stuff. And I just became absolutely infatuated with that concept of being behind the camera and telling a story. And of course, I had no idea what a cinematographer was. So it wasn't until, but that idea still stuck with me. So I guess that was the seed of just, being behind the camera, and then, cut to like me going to college and try to figure it out. I didn't go to film school, but I majored in mass communications because it's like the closest thing I could find. And then after that, just kind of, kind of fought my way in the dark of trying to like figure out how to get on a film set. And I got on a film set as a camera assistant and started to see like what a cinematographer did. And that's where it clicked. And so I just kind of started to shoot in my own shorts and stuff and anything I could until people would pay me. And then the project slowly but surely got bigger. And cut to now.
Do you remember, like you were saying, like you didn't eat when you were younger, obviously, like didn't know like what cinematography was, or like, do you remember like the first time, like what was the first name or like first cinematographer you remember like being like, oh, that, like a name, or like who you were like, oh, that's somebody, like that's what this person does, I guess?
Well, I guess it was like when I was like actively, I guess like the first, when I started to learn about cinematographers and who they were is when I bought a subscription to American Cinematographer magazine. So I don't remember like the first name, probably like Roger Deakins or somebody,
Sure.
Or, maybe Conrad Hall, or, and then, it was just like researching everything I could and reading everything I could. Yeah. And just becoming obsessed with lighting specifically, because that just felt very mysterious to me. Of how lighting worked and how you can use it to make an audience feel a certain way and manipulate.
John, how about you? What was your go trek to here, I guess?
Yeah, well, my father was a photographer, and he taught me how to work in a darkroom. So when I was, by the age of 13, I was working in the darkroom and printing and looking at all his photography books, which was a great education. And I grew up in South Africa, in Johannesburg, and we actually didn't have TV. We didn't have TV till I turned 13. So we used to go, instead of a video rental store, it was a 16 mil film rental store. We had a Bell and Howell projector, and we would rent TV shows, and we would have every Friday people would come over and we'd hang out and watch movies. So I had that sort of weird introduction. But I think what I've loved photography, but I think what the spark for me was when I saw Apocalypse Now. The film just floored me, and I think it was the way it made me feel, and the emotions it brought out in me, and how it was so powerful that a film could make me feel that way. And I think that's what made me want to become a cinematographer. That's sort of the backstory.
Nice, good pick there. Now, I guess if someone was coming up to you guys and was like a budding, like an up and coming cinematographer, or somebody who was interested in this field, like what advice would you give them at this point? Drew, what would you tell someone who came up to you and was like, I love your work, I want to be a cinematographer? What is something I should know or need to know, I guess? Like, what would you say?
A really tough question, because
I'm just
I
killing
feel like
you. I'm sorry.
you are killing me on these. Well, I mean, I came up doing a lot of photography, so I think it's really just self-exploration through, doing your own work and trying to understand what you like and don't like. It's a tough business. I've gone through the hard ways, as a lot of us have, and I think it's just consistently trying to push your work and meeting people is one part of it, but I also think constantly trying to learn through shooting is going to be another part of it. No one really can teach you exactly what to do, because we all do it very differently. And I think that's kind of what I've learned over the years, is that, even the four of us here, we all would probably shoot the same scene extremely differently and approach it very differently, maybe possibly the same outcome. There's no real rhyme or reason behind what we do, and most of it doesn't make any sense to anyone else. So, the best advice I can say to somebody is just try to figure out what you like to do, and, how to get there is on your own path.
Yeah, that's great. That was really good. Sure. Marshall, how about you? What kind of advice would you give somebody who asked you?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think just to hang in there. First off, find somebody that you can team up with, that you really kind of see things similarly, but also learn from each other. Find somebody or a group of people that that you love working with, and also just hang in there and keep doing it, because if I can make it, anybody can. Just keep at it. It's all subjective. There's no wrong way, and just go for it.
Yeah, Natalie, what would you say?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it really is all subjective, and understanding who you are as an artist, understanding your perspective and how that contributes to a film or a project. And I think that's just, just really getting to know yourself, like through, whether it's just taking stills and understanding how you see light. Watching movies and understanding like why you like the things that you like, why you like certain types of art, why are you affected in the way that you are, why is the shot affecting you the way it is, and then how can you contribute as a cinematographer when you're collaborating with a director. I think knowing yourself is just it's so important, and having that perspective, because we all are visual storytellers at the end of the day, and we have something to say. And I think the beautiful thing about filmmaking is all of these voices coming together to say something that we couldn't say on our own. So yeah, and it's in that that perspective just continues to evolve as you get older. You have more experiences as your tastes shift. So just like constantly checking in and understanding where you're creating from.
Yeah, that's really cool. And John, how about you?
Well, I think it's really important to have a voice and to go in with your own ideas. But the one thing that I've learned is really to listen to other people, listen to what other people are saying. Sometimes you can go into a situation and you think, I'm going to shoot the scene this way and I'm going to light it exactly this way. But if you listen to what your director is saying to you, like often he's seeing it from a different way. And I'm not saying don't always take everyone else's opinion but consider it. And I think a lot of times other people, I've gotten great ideas from a PA or an electric, and it's just good to be confident but roll with all the ideas that are given to you. I think it's basically be open to ideas and be open to doing something that wasn't exactly the way you thought you should do it. I think that's the best advice I can give. I don't know if it's good advice, but that's what I would give.
It sounds good to me. I just want to thank you all. We're going to wrap up here, but I just want to thank you all for doing this. And again, Drew Wehde, cinematographer for The Bear, Marshall Adams, cinematographer for Better Call Saul, Natalie Kingston, cinematographer for Blackbird, and Jon Joffin, cinematographer for Star Trek Picard. All of these shows, incredible and really great work here. And it was a pleasure getting to chat with you about all of this. It was really fun. So thank you so much.